What's happening, guys? Johnny Sports Talk here. Now, after weeks of finding out who our head coach was, all the speculation, we finally got our guy, Doug Pederson, and finally our coaching staff is set. I kind of wanted to give my opinion, my reaction to our coaching staff, which, unlike the Chip Kelly one, I feel like this coaching staff has more depth to it. There's a lot more assistants, I believe, on this staff than Chip Kelly's. So obviously we know Doug Pederson's the head coach. I want to start with the offensive side of the coaching staff. At offensive coordinator, they have hired Frank Reich. The QB coach will be John DeFilippo. The assistant QB coach will be Press Taylor. Running backs coach remains Deuce Staley. Wide receiver, former Eagle wide receiver Greg Lewis. Tight ends, we have Justin Peel. At the offensive line, we retain Jeff Stoutland. Assistant offensive line, assistant tight end coach, and run game coordinator Eugene Chung. Now on the defensive side, the defensive coordinator will be Jim Schwartz. Defensive line will be Rory Segrist. Linebacker will be Ken Filori. Defensive back coach remains to be Cory Onlin. The assistant defensive back is Tim Huck. The defensive quality coordinator, assistant DBs, will be Dino Vasso. The special team coach will remain as Dave Fipp, and the assistant special team coach will be Matthew Harper. Now, just my quick reaction off the bat. I feel as if this whole coaching staff is like a group of college buddies. 20 years later, decide they go to a bar, right, and they get really drunk and decide, hey, let's open up a bar and start up a business, right? This is a lot of former Eagles players on this team, on this staff, which I'm not going to write off all right away. This could work out. I mean, this Doug Pederson project is a risk in its own. But number one, on the offensive side, I was very upset to find out that we weren't retaining Pat Shurmur. I thought Pat Shurmur would be a nice, a nice coach to keep on the staff from last season. If we wanted to keep Sam Bradford here, I think that would be great continuity for Sam and Pat to continue working together. If you wanted to keep him on as QB coach, I wouldn't see why he wouldn't stay here, and you could still keep Frank Reich here. Now, Frank Reich, if you don't know him, he was the former San Diego Chargers offensive coordinator, which many believe he just got scapegoated. The Chargers didn't have a good season last season. Someone had to go, and it wasn't Mike McCoy, so Reich was the odd man out. He was a really good backup quarterback back in the 90s with those Bills teams that went to the 4 Super Bowls. So that's something there. I'm not too mad about that hire as offensive coordinator. At wide receiver, though, don't get me wrong, Greg Lewis had his moments with the Eagles. I liked him as a player. He was a hardworking guy. But I feel like this team needs a wide receiver coach that's going to teach these guys the basics. These guys had so many drops last season at the wide receiver position. And there's a lack of offensive big play talent on this team. I just think that we should have gotten a more veteran guy. I don't know if Greg Lewis is the answer at wide receiver. Justin Peel, I'm not mad at. He's a long-time NFL tight end, which was a solid pickup. Deuce Staley, which was no surprise. He was going to stay on. There's many believe that he will be a head coach in the future, maybe with the Eagles, maybe with another team. We don't know, but a lot of guys seem to like him. Other than the running backs, there's a lot of rumors, speculation. DeMarco Murray didn't go along with Deuce Staley, but I don't see why that would be the case. Deuce is like a likable guy. He's big with the fan base in Philly. That was good to keep him on there. And I was really happy they kept Jeff Stoutland. I understand the offensive line did not play up to par last season, but I feel like you had 2 backups playing on the 2 guards were backups last season, and Kelsey was hurt a little bit last year. I think he is a good offensive line coach. he needs more talent to work with. If you remember, I'm sorry, he was the offensive line coach at Alabama, and those guys produced some pretty good offensive linemen over the past couple of years when he was there. Now the QB coach John DeFilippo has over a decade of coaching experience as an assistant. His past season, he got let go as the Cleveland Browns offensive coordinator. Now he's, in my opinion, as seeing his career, he's done an average job. He's been all over with college and the pro ranks. No, probably a couple spots of note was back in 2007. He was part of the Lane Kiffin staff as a quarterback coach, which he coached Jamarcus Russell, which, as we all know, probably the biggest bust in NFL draft history. And after that, after 2 seasons of that, in 2009, he moved to New York, where he coached Mark Sanchez. Now I'm not gonna buy into much into that, but it is a little worrisome. He has been coaching in a lot of different spots. He was in Cleveland last year, which, many players and coaches go to die. But one thing to note was, I've read somewhere, Derek Carr, he coached him in his rookie season. He went back to Oakland in 2014, and he coached up Derek Carr in his rookie year. And Derek Carr has some high words to say about DeFilippo. Said he really helped him in his development, which we've seen. He's going to flourish into a good starting quarterback in this league. So that's kind of a high point, but we'll see what happens. We really need a good quarterback coach in Philly. I think what's going to happen is we're going to have to draft a QB. So that means you got to have someone who knows how to coach these guys up. Now, Chung is pretty interesting. He will be coaching the running game. He will be the assistant offensive line and tight end coach. Now, it didn't make sense to me, but when I read his history, he's an Andy Reid guy. He was here back 2010 to 2012, moved to KC with Andy Reid and his guys, and now he's back with Doug Pederson. So I guess he's in charge of the running game, which now I have the question, does that mean he will be in charge of substituting running backs now? Now, that was Deuce Staley's job the past season. I don't know if it was past 2 seasons, but past season was Deuce Staley's job. So that'll be interesting to see. Now, on the defensive side, I thought Jim Schwartz was a home run hire. A lot of people were worried because he's bringing the whole wide 9 system, and we all have our bad memories back in 2012, 2011, those Dream Team teams with the wide 9. But guys, he coaches defenses. If you look at his past defenses, mainly 2014, in which he coached the Buffalo Bills to the 4th best defense. He knows how to coach these guys. And in Detroit, he took a 0-16 team, and they were relevant. They were an average team, and the defense got better. And what I really am looking forward to is him working with Fletcher Cox. If you look at what he's done with Marcel Darius in Buffalo and Ndamukong Suh in Detroit, it's huge. And if you guys look at our roster, our best player is Fletcher Cox. And who better than Jim Schwartz to coach this guy up and make him an elite player, which he has the talent to. And if we create an elite player within Fletcher Cox, it's just going to give off confidence to the rest of the defense, and they will be able to play better. I thought that was a home run hire by the Eagles. Now, Cory Onlin, I'm kind of on the fence with. The secondary last season played, and our top corner that we got in free agency last year, Byron Maxwell, didn't have the best season, and there's just so many times that just frustrated me in his play. That looked like he didn't care. It could be the money, but Unlin did coach Denver to they have a pretty good secondary over in Denver. It could be from free agency, but he did have to develop those guys. We'll see this year. We'll see how he fares coaching these guys. Eric Rowe did come back strong last season. I'm really looking forward to his year 2 development within the defense. Now, Tim Huck, if you remembered, played a couple seasons with the Eagles, came on in '99 when Andy Reid got to Philly. And if you remember, he was famous for ending Michael Irvin's career, which is bonus points on its own right there. Now, he had a pretty long career, played over a decade in the NFL. I think it's going to be great. Another guy who can give his personal experiences playing in the NFL and his views, and he knows what these guys are going through. So I think that's going to be huge. And now Ken Fulhori, probably butchering the name. I don't know much about him. What I've read, he's had a lengthy coaching career in the NFL as an assistant. He's coached all over places like Cleveland, Seattle, Carolina. So I guess with his experience of coaching, he's coached different players. So that, I guess that right there will help him out with coaching the linebackers. Now for the defensive line, they're going to have Phillip Daniels, and the assistant defensive line is a guy named Rory Seacrest, which I couldn't find much about. I don't know anything about him. But Phillip Daniels, if you remember, he was a long-time Redskin. He really wreaked havoc in the backfield and got to Donovan quite a few times in his career. He played over a decade. So he's a guy who's an average player in the NFL who, again, will give his playing experiences and his views to our defensive line. Now, the most important coach that we retained from the Chip Kelly era would have to be Dave Fipp, hands down. The special teams over the past couple seasons have been spectacular and have been difference makers for the past couple seasons, and that's partially due to Dave Fipp, I believe. It was huge keeping him, and I hope our special teams continues being as good as we were the past 2 seasons. The Doug Pederson era is underway, guys. It is underway. Now, the next step for the Eagles is they will be looking for a player personnel guy to add to the front office. If you ask my opinion, just going to be another yes man. Someone's going to work under Howie. It's going to just, whatever Howie says, they're going to say, yep, you got it, Howie. That's what we're going to go with. So I'm not looking forward to it. I would like to get someone in here that really has worked in an organization that has picked out good players. Now, I'm not saying you have to go to New England and pick out the next great scout from there, but there's other franchises out there that have been drafting better than we have, and that we can really use some of their scouting personnel to help us out. Like a team like Jacksonville, you can say what you want, but those guys have been drafting well over the past couple seasons, and it's going to show maybe not next year, but year after. They're going to have one of the best offenses in the NFL because they have some great young talent, and that's due to drafting. Teams like that you got to look into and hire and give them some control. Let them pick out some players for you guys. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. That's our coaching staff this season. We'll see what happens, guys. Regardless, go Birds!